Good morning, everyone. Let's read from Second Samuel now, chapter 4 and 5. And the son of Saul heard that Abner had died in Hebron, and he lost heart, and all of Yasharel was troubled. And the son of Saul had two men, commanders of bands, and the name of one was Baanah, and the name of the other was Rechab, sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite of the children of Benjamin. For Beeroth was also reckoned to Benjamin. Because the Beerothites fled to Gideon and have been sojourners there until this day, now Jonathan or Jehonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was lame in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news came about Saul and Jonathan came from Israel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to be, as she hurried to flee, that he fell and became lame, and his name was Mephibosheth. So the sons of Rimmon, the Beerothite, Rechab and Baanah, went and came at about the heat of the day to the house of Ishbosheth, who was lying on his bed at noon. They came into the midst of the house to fetch wheat, and they struck him in the stomach, and Rechab and Baanah his brother escaped. Thus they came into the house when he was laying on his bed in his bedroom, and they smote him and slew him and beheaded him. And they took his head and went the way of the desert plain all night, and brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron, and said to the king, See the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life. So the Most High has given my master the king vengeance on Saul and his seed this day. David answered Rechab and Baanah his brother, sons of Rimmon the Beerothite, and said to them, As the Most High lives, who has redeemed my life out of all distress? When someone reported to me, saying, See, Saul is dead, and he was a bearer of good news in his own eyes, I then took hold of him and slew him in Siglag, which was the reward I gave him for his news. How much more, when wicked men have slain a righteous man in his own house on his bed, should I now require his blood at your hand, and remove you from the earth? And David commanded his young men, and they slew him, and cut off their hands and feet, and hanged them by the pool in Hebron. They took the life of Ishbosheth, and buried it in the tomb of Abner in Hebron. Chapter 5. And all of the tribes of Yasharel came to David at Hebron and spoke, saying, Look, we are your bone and your flesh. Formerly, when Saul was king over us, you were the one who led Yasharel out and brought them in. And the Most High said to you, Shepherd my people, Yasharel, and be ruler over Yasharel. And the elders of Yasharel came to the king at Hebron, and King David made a covenant with them before the Most High. They anointed David king over Yasharel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned for 40 years. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months. And in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years over all of Yasharel and Judah. And the king and his men went to Jerusalem again, and the Jebusites and the inhabitants of the land, they spoke to David, saying, Except you take away the blind and the lame, you are not going to come in here. Thinking, David is not going to come in here. But David captured the stronghold of Sion, the city of David. David said on that day, Anyone who reaches the water shaft, let him smite the Jebusites, and the lame and the blind, who are hated by David's being. That is why they say, The blind and the lame do not come into the house. And David dwelt in the stronghold, and called it the city of David. And David built all around, from Hamilo and inward. And David went on and became great, and the Most High Elohim of hosts was with him. Now Hiram, king of Sor, sent messengers to David, and cedar trees, and carpenters and masons. They built a house for David, and David knew that the Most High had established him as king over Yasharel, and that he had exalted his kingdom because of his people, And David took more concubines and wives from Jerusalem after he had come from Hebron, and more sons and daughters were born to David. These were the names of those born to him in Jerusalem: Shemua, Shobab, Nathan, and Shalomo, and Gebar, and Elishua, Nepheg, and Yephiah, and Elishama, and Eliada, and Eliphelet. And the Pelethites heard that they had anointed David king over Yasharel, and all the Pelethites went up to search for him. But David heard and went down to the stronghold. The Pelethites came and spread themselves out in the valley of Rephaim. David inquired of the Most High, saying, Do I go up against the Pelethites? Do you give them into my hand? The Most High said to David, Go up, for I shall certainly give the Pelethites into your hand. David came to Baal Perazim, and David smote them there, and he said, The Most High has broken through my enemies before me, like a breakthrough of water. So he called the name of that place Baal Perazim. And they left their images there, and David and his men took them away. The Pelethites again came up and were spread out in the valley of Rephaim. When David inquired of the Most High, he said, Do not go up. Turn around behind them, and you shall come upon them in front of the mulberry trees. And it shall be, when you hear the sound of stepping in the tops of the mulberry trees, then you will act promptly, for then the Most High shall go out before you to smite the camp of the Pelethites. David did so as the Most High commanded, and he smote the Pelethites from Geba as far as Gezer. Hallelujah.